Hi everyone, this is Rion Paper, and this is a bit of a different setup today. Welcome to my couch in my living room. I normally film up in the attic because that's where I have the most light and a table that is usually always empty, so I don't have to declutter it first before I can start filming. But yeah, the reason why we are doing this, why I'm sitting here, is because the channel Rion Paper has recently reached 2K subscribers, for which I am super grateful. And I'm so glad to have you here. So thankful for each and every one of you that I figured we should get to know each other better, or at least you should get to know me a bit better, because I can't really see you right now, but you can see me. So yeah, I asked you whether there are questions you wanted to ask to do a little Q&A session on both YouTube and Instagram. And I got a surprisingly large amount of questions. So let's just jump into it because I have a feeling that the video is going to be quite long as is. Let's just explain a little bit about the situation you're in right now. You are standing on top of a huge stack of, that starts with a coffee table, then there's 5 boxes of board games and 4 cookbooks, and then there's my tripod, because that's the only way that we can sort of, you can be at the height of my eyes. That was a weird way of phrasing it. Anyway, let's get into it. Just one housekeeping thing. I didn't ask for permission to share like the names or social media handles of the people who send in questions. I mean, for YouTube, it was on my community page, so it was already kind of like publicly visible. But for Instagram, it's not. So I figured I'm just gonna not name people. You will probably recognize your own question. So just thank you for sending in questions. There are a lot of fun questions to explore. So let's get into it. The very first question that I received was, could you show us your face? Well, here it is. This is the face. The second question, how are my cats doing? My cats are doing great. They might join, but it is currently the afternoon, which is usually when they are sleeping. I mean, they're cats. When are they not sleeping? But they are both sleeping right now, so maybe they'll join, maybe they won't. But they are doing really good. They had their checkup, like yearly checkup at the vet last week, who said that they were both looking healthy and just, yeah, they're doing great. Which cat do I love more? Now that is a very... I cannot answer that question. I will say though, that is like picking a favorite child. I'm sure that parents can't do that. I mean, I know that my sister and I used to ask my parents, like, but if you just had to pick, like, you can only save one, who would you pick? And my parents were always very, like, how do you say that? Like, they always said, like, you cannot choose between children. And I now feel the same about my cats, who are kind of my children, let's be honest. But I will say that, like, we adopted our first cat, Uzo, in 2020. And then in 2022, so 2 years later, we moved houses and we now have a bigger house. And we figured it would be nice to get another cat. So when we decided to get Momo, our second cat, I was kind of like, I had this weird feeling, like I had such a bond already with Uzo, and I was really wondering if I would get that same sort of bond with Momo, or if she would always be like the second cat in my head. And I suppose she was for like the first month, but that disappeared so quickly, and now it's just, we're just one big family. Next question. How did you know you wanted to start a YouTube channel? And what is your favorite aspect of creating videos? I think I have sort of always wanted to start a YouTube channel, at least like since I started watching journaling, planner related videos on YouTube and fountain pen related things as well, which was, I think, like 2017 or 18 when I really got into bullet journaling at first, and then pre-printed planners and hobonichi, and then afterwards into fountain pens. So that was a whole journey. And I always thought, like, I'm kind of jealous of these people because they just spend hours of their time talking about stationery, and they have people who care and who listen and who enjoy it as much as they do, while I'm just talking for hours to my partner about my stationery, and he's just like, yeah, cool. He always listens very patiently, but like I know that he doesn't love stationery and planners as much as I do. So I knew that if I really wanted to be like a part of the planner community, it would be really fun to just like put myself out there, put some videos out there, and just see what happens. And I guess I was just always sort of waiting for the right moment. And just like somewhere last year, I decided, okay, I have a bit more time now, a bit more time on my hands. It's now or never. Like if I'm not going to do it now, I have no excuses down the road, because I kept saying to myself, I'll do it when I have more time. So yeah, it was finally time to start a YouTube channel. And yeah, that's now, I think, 7 months ago. And my favorite aspect of creating videos is just like being able to unapologetically talk about the things that bring me joy, the things that I love, the struggles that I have with planning, or anything like that. And knowing that there are people who care and who enjoy listening to that kind of stuff, that is the most fun thing. I can get really excited just sitting down by myself in my attic and starting to talk about all of these planner things, because like I know that you will be there watching and commenting and coming up with great ideas, and just, you know, that feeling of understanding and knowing there are people like you out there, that's the best part. Let's take a sip of my water. What are some of my favorite hobbies besides stationery? I have quite a lot of hobbies. I am someone who is very bad at doing the same thing and being focused on the same thing for long amounts of times, which also reflects in just having tons of interests and tons of hobbies. And they're all things that I don't spend enough time on and that I'm not very good at, because, you know, my attention is so spread thin. But I love playing video games. That's probably like the biggest thing that like I sink my time into, because I don't need a lot of energy to play video games. It's one of the things that is just, you know, relaxing and easy to do, for example, after work, or just a fun thing to do. But I also really like playing the piano and singing. Music has always been a big part of my free time. I like gardening, although it kind of depends. Like I don't like all gardening tasks, but I do love like checking on the plants and doing a little pruning, a little weeding, planting some new plants, just seeing all the life in the garden has been really fun. I love cooking. I never really mind cooking just a nice, tasty, nutritious meal. Even after a long work day, cooking is something that I will always have energy for. And I know that my partner is really grateful for that, because while he doesn't mind cooking, like it's not something he actively dislikes, but he's more of a, if I have energy and time, like he will enjoy cooking more on the weekends than after a long day of work. Well, for me, it is just something really relaxing to take my mind off things, to unwind. And I also like studying languages, which has been really put on the back burner this year. But it is something that I enjoy. Like I have this dream of being able to speak tons of languages. And I always say that when I retire, which will be like, I don't know, when I'm 70 years old or something, I will enroll into every language class that I can find that is like nearby or online, or I will just spend all my time just playing with stationery and learning languages. Let's see. How did your very humble obsession with stationery and planners start? I do not remember a time where I was not into stationery. Like when I was like a very young kid, like 5 years old or so, I already loved stickers. I loved stamps. I loved pens, books. I was always hoarding like exercise books and stickers, and I was already like kind of big into collecting and not really using my stuff, which that has never gone away. So yeah, I think I was always into stationery, and it's definitely something that I have like from my mother. Like she would always have stickers, use stickers, look at stickers when we went to specific stores. She would give like sheets of stickers as like small presents. So she definitely sort of like got me into the stationery world, and then from there it just like it always kept going. I wasn't really big into planners until I think somewhere around 2017 when I got into bullet journaling. And I kind of like I always knew that planners existed, obviously, but I always found like most pre-printed planners that I knew were very basic. Like they had very cheap paper, they had like extremely thick lines, and I don't know, they were just not very aesthetic or pretty, and they were always just there. And I had used them throughout high school. I found them very useful just to keep track of like homework and stuff. But then at university, I just started using digital planning more and just having tons of post-it notes on my desk. And then at some point, I realized that I just really needed something more structured because things were starting to fall through the cracks. And that was when I got into bullet journaling. And then when I found that bullet journaling was just like, it was too much work to make it look good. And if it was not going to look good, I might as well have a pre-printed planner that doesn't look good. But then I discovered there are also pre-printed planners that look amazing. And that was when I got into hobonichi, and I just completely fell in love with Domo River paper and all of the amazing inspiration that I got online from the hobonichi community and people sharing all of their beautiful spreads that can sometimes take a lot of work, but it like in a planner like a hobonichi, you can very easily make things look really pretty. If you could visit anywhere in the world, where would you go and why? I would I would absolutely go to Japan. I have been to Japan twice before, and I absolutely loved it. I feel such a deep connection to the country, which I have never really experienced before, except maybe for Italy, which is why I studied Italian at university. But the one thing that I guess that when I was in Japan, I felt very much at home, even though that's the complete opposite side of the world from where I live, which is in Europe. And I never really expected to have that feeling. I expected everything to feel really like new and exotic. And some things definitely did, obviously, but I also really I felt really comfortable there. Like people are very kind and accommodating, but I also like that I feel like people are very like well behaved and very considerate. Everyone Like people are very strict about queuing. People are very strict about being quiet on public transport, about not littering. It's just a very, like, throughout my time there, everything felt so well organized, so clean, so well behaved. And it just really made me realize how much I can sometimes be overwhelmed by just the amount of loudness and rudeness and just inconsiderate people around me when I'm just going, I'm just doing my thing here in the Netherlands. And I have really missed that since. Plus, obviously, Japan is a huge stationary country, way more than the Netherlands. So that is a big plus. I would definitely like to go back there. I've been there in total for 5 weeks, spread over 2 trips, and there's just so much of the country that I haven't seen yet, that I definitely want to explore. What hard to find stationery items would you prioritize getting if you had an upcoming trip to Japan? Well, thank you, Alison. You absolutely knew that I love Japan and its stationery. I think I would prioritize getting some Japan exclusive fountain pen inks. When I was in Japan the last time, that was in 2020, the beginning of 2020, I wasn't into fountain pens yet. So I've never been in Japan while I was obsessed with fountain pens and fountain pen inks. And I have watched the fountain pen, the Japan exclusive fountain pen ink series on YouTube by The Wet Pen. And and every time I watch those videos, I am so excited because I see all of these beautiful stores with all of the exclusive ink colors. And there's like there's an ink in Tokyo that you can only get on days when it's raining, that you can only get on a day when it's like the full moon. Like all of those crazy things are a bit over the top, sure, but also like really, really fun, and I think would make for a really like special way to plan your trip and do lots of other fun stuff in the process as well. So I would probably look for inks. Do you have a pen or ink you genuinely regret buying, and why? I don't really have pens and inks that are like big regrets, luckily. I do have a couple of pens, specifically like really inexpensive Jinhao pens that I find myself not really reaching for, not really using. But those were really inexpensive, so it's not like I sometimes think like it would have been completely fine if I had never bought them, but it's not like I feel so bad because I spend a lot of money on that and now I'm not using it. So I'm really glad that I haven't made a mistake like that yet with a very expensive pen. Then again, a more expensive pen would probably be a bit easier to resell. And as far as inks go, I don't really have any inks that I absolutely like that I really regret buying. I'm thinking bottles because I mean a sample is there to discover whether you like the ink or not. So even if you don't enjoy the ink, it was still a good opportunity to try it out, I think. So I'll never really regret getting a sample. But as far as bottles go, the only thing that I sometimes regret is not comparing well enough if a bottle I am getting is too similar to an ink I already have. For example, when I bought, I think it was Diamine Schubert from the Music Ink collection. I saw it online, I loved it, I got it, and then I swatched it, and I'm like, this is extremely similar to some other turquoise inks that I have. So it doesn't really like fill a specific gap in my collection. on the other hand, it wasn't really an expensive ink. It could be nice to sometimes compare inks or pick a similar color that behaves differently in a pen. So it's not really like that I regret buying it. I'm just gonna check if we're still recording because I can not really see the viewfinder from where I'm sitting right now. So hang on. Okay, it seems like we're still rolling. Now we have a very important question, I think. I'd like to hear your thoughts on planner consumerism. Do you consider it a real problem in the planner community? Planner consumerism, or just stationary consumerism in general, is probably something that would be well suited for an entire, like, more long form video, because there's lots of different aspects to explore. I do not think that it is a huge problem that has to be addressed, or that people should be like restrained from getting more planners. But I do think that it is an individual question that you have to ask yourself when you are tempted to buy something new. Are you just doing it because you may be a little bit bored with what you are using right now, or because you feel like outside pressure to get it because like everyone else has it, so now I'm feeling left behind, I have this sort of fear of missing out, I should jump on that bandwagon? And those may be situations where you have to ask yourself, will it really bring me joy, or will I regret it down the line? Because in that case, then it's probably not worth getting said planner or stationary item. On the other hand, this is a hobby for a lot of us, and it may be a functional hobby in that, your planner is also something very practical, as is a journal. So you might say, well, that planner, it still has pages, it's fine, you can make it work. Why buy something new? That's a waste of paper. But part of a hobby, I think, is also exploring, trying out different things. And I think that because a planner is something functional, we often have the feeling that we should use every last bit of it, or else we are wasting something. And while I think it's definitely good to think about whether you're being wasteful, or maybe you're overspending, I also think that you should sometimes allow yourself to play or to try out different things in order to, get closer to finding what really works for you, what you really enjoy. So yeah, and I think one important thing to note is that consumerism and over-consuming is also like a financial thing. And I think there is a really, really big spectrum of financial situations, and that is going to be such a personal thing. And I just really hope that people do not get a feeling that they need to get something because they see other people use it online. I love sharing, for example, like when I get something new, or when I'm using something really pretty in my planners, or when I'm getting a new planner and I really want to share it. But I will never do that with the intention of trying to get other people to buy it as well. And I really hope that people sort of use it more as a way to get either inspiration or to learn through someone else. Like someone else using a planner might also be a way for you to learn more about that planner, instead of getting the feeling that everything they see online they should also get themselves, even when it doesn't really fit their planning style or their aesthetic. Or I just really hope that people consider it an individual journey where it's perfectly fine if everyone uses different materials, different stuff. If someone uses one planner while someone else might use 10 at the same time, I think you should really, really decide for yourself what serves you, how much you can allow yourself to spend, how much you are comfortable using in terms of like products, and when you have a feeling like now I'm being wasteful. It's just really good to think about those questions and to be aware of the concept of consumerism. So I find it hard to say if it is really a problem. I do not necessarily consider it a problem, but then again, I also don't see every like YouTube video under the sun. So there may be people where I'd be like, this is a bit much, but I just haven't seen it. I'm really curious to hear your thoughts about this. And I think it might be a good topic to explore a bit further in like a separate video. And then the same person also asked, do you, let me see, I have a list with the questions just under the camera, but sometimes I lose track of where I was. Do you struggle with planner perfectionism? 100% yes, absolutely. I struggle with perfectionism in general, in nearly everything I do, except for cleaning, which is something that my partner is sometimes like, why are you so perfectionistic about everything except for when you do cleaning, and it's like always like 60% done and then you just call it quits. But that's a whole tangent. No, I really struggle with perfectionism. I can really have a feeling that if I have made one ugly spread, or if I completely want to change my system, and not everything from, for example, the start of a book to the end of the book is either pretty or sort of in the same style, using the same materials, the same functionality, like the setup of the spreads, if that's not coherent or consistent from January to December, that I've sort of messed up the planner, that it's not beautiful, that it's not good. And I'm really trying to sort of rationalize myself out of that, because like, from a rational point of view, that makes absolutely no sense. But I know that there are more people out there that sort of feel the same way about that. So it's something that I'm working on, but I'll admit that perfectionism is definitely something that I struggle with. Are there any other subjects you'd like to make videos on that are completely different from the usual? I have always wanted to start a like video gaming channel on YouTube as well. I know that is even harder than like stationery and planning to get viewers, because the sort of market there is completely oversaturated, and you really need something unique or special to get views and sort of build a community there. But I have always find it such a fun idea to just, spend hours doing something you love, which is often considered like a waste of time. Obviously, as a gamer, that's not how I view gaming, but like I remember, like especially for example, my father, when I was still in high school, and I played a lot of video games also back then. Like my father would always say, like, "Oh, like that's such a waste of time. Why are you doing that?" And I think that if you get a monetized YouTube channel while playing video games, that sounds like the ultimate win-win to me. You can do something you find very fun, and you can earn money with it. Like, where do I sign up? So yeah, that's something that I would love to do, but I'm also kind of realistic that that would take such a long time to build a channel like that, and it would need much more frequent uploads than I do on my planner channel. So for now, we're sticking with planners and fountain pens and stuff like that. You occasionally mention planning around your partner's house hours or events. I don't often see people talk about coordinating their planning with others. If it's not too personal, do you and your partner have complementary or conflicting planning styles? Is one of you the designated main planner for the humans, cats, or household? And how did you work through your planning style differences, if any? It's definitely true that I note, for example, when my partner is in the office or is doing something with friends, usually because, I mean, it's just the two of us in our house with our two cats, obviously, but they don't usually have a lot of plans. So whenever my partner is home or not home, or eats at home or doesn't eat at home, that will always also influence me. So it's just nice to note that in my planner. For example, like filming like this, I prefer doing that when I'm home alone, because that way I won't disturb him with my talking while he's trying to work. But also because I just feel a little more relaxed talking in front of the camera when I know that, like, at this specific moment, no one can hear me. And I just, like, I think it's just really nice to sort of know that about each other's schedules. I don't really plan around it, except for example, when, let's say we order something for the house, like a piece of furniture, and we know when it will be delivered, then we'll just check to see if one of us is home. It's just like sometimes that just makes life a lot easier than like not taking any of that into consideration and then finding out that your package has been dropped off at some store like miles away and you have to get it, and it could have been easily avoided. In terms of planning style, I don't think we are too different. I mean, my partner plans more digitally, and in terms of that, we have very different styles of planning, but we both like to plan quite far ahead. So that's nice. My partner will be a bit more spontaneous about social events. Like for example, if someone says like, oh, do you want to have dinner together tonight? For me, that will almost always be a no, because I don't know, I'm a very big introvert and I do enjoy social events, but I like to sort of be mentally prepared for it. So I don't really like planning something on the same day. I like to know sort of in advance when I'm gonna have a social event. And my partner is like a bit more spontaneous, so he'll often like send me a message like, I'm gonna be home later today because my colleagues and I are going to grab a bite. So is it okay if I'm not home for dinner? Which is fine by me. I mean, I don't really mind. We see each other a lot, so it's not like I'm like, oh no, we were gonna have dinner together, because we have dinner together almost every day. So it's fine if he makes his own plans as well. But other than that, it has always been very natural, I think, for us to sort of take each other into consideration when planning things. But yeah, also just to plan some time, just some time to spend together, some time for ourselves, just to recharge and do our own stuff, and spend plan time to go to family, especially my family, because they live much farther away. That has always been quite easy. Can you mail me a Hema rookworst? So for those of you who don't know, rookworst is a Dutch meat product. And Hema is probably like the most famous seller of the rookworst. Although I would probably say Unox as well. I'm not sure. I could totally send you one, but that kind of depends on where you live, because I'm not sure customs would be really happy with that, especially because like they smell quite strongly, and I don't think Hema vacuum seals theirs. So that might be not possible, but I appreciate the idea. It's they're nice. Could you arrange for the Dutch to stop calling things toes of garlic and peanut cheese? I wish I could. I wish I could. And you've now made me aware again of how weird those terms are. So yeah, we call what is it in English? Is it a clove of garlic? Like one piece? We call that a toe of garlic, which is mildly disturbing. And yeah, we call peanut butter peanut cheese, which is just very inaccurate in general. The only fun thing about that is the saying helaas pindakaas, which means unfortunately peanut butter, which is just something weird that Dutch people say when they are like, yeah, bummer. Like when someone says, like, I don't know, the weather is bad, we can't go outside, you'll say, bummer. In Dutch, you can say helaas pindakaas, and you'll literally be saying, unfortunately, peanut butter. But it's just something that we do because it rhymes. So yeah, there's that. And then the last question, what is your favorite video you've made so far and why? I don't think I have a favorite video that I've made. I think I sort of like all of them. Well, I don't always like the end product. I'll be honest with you about that. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, not really proud of this one, but it'll have to do for today. But in general, I just really like the diversity and just being able to try out different things and show you different things, and knowing that you're all just really patient with me and will watch a lot of the stuff that I put out. And some videos do better than others, and some will resonate more with people. But if for every video that I've made, I know that at least one person enjoyed it and got something from it. Someone besides my mother, I know you're watching, Mom, thank you always, but I do appreciate it when I know there's also at least like one other person watching. That just makes me happy, just being able to try out different things. And yeah, so that was it. I have absolutely no clue how long I've been talking for. My throat says for quite some time. I hope you liked this video. I hope you like the format. Maybe we'll have to do this again at some time. But I definitely feel more comfortable filming from having my phone camera thing above my planners and just, seeing my hands only and not my entire face. So thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions that didn't get answered, or you just want to shoot me a message, always feel free to do so. You do not have to wait for the next Q&A, because that might be a while. You can always send me a message and ask me anything. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great day. Bye!